What is the origin/formal definitions of the phrase pros and cons? The phrase pros and cons is often used to weigh the positive and negative effects that would result from taking a particular course of action. When trying to explain to someone else why only actions, and not objects or people's reasons for doing things, have pros and cons, for example, there are no pros or cons for grass, there are pros and cons for having grass, I realized that I have no idea why this seems to be the rule. I have so far come to the conclusion that both pro and con are probably abbreviations, but I can't figure out what they are abbreviations of. Does anyone know? How does this create the usage rules detailed above?
Pro is not an abbreviation, but con is for contra. From the OED. An argument or consideration in favor of something, reasoning in support of a proposition, thesis, etc. chiefly in pros and cons, also pros and contras, reasons or arguments for and against something, advantages and disadvantages. ACAs. Also pro and contra, also pro and con, argument, debate. And the etymology of pro. Etymology, less than classical Latin pro, preposition, before, place, in front of, for, on behalf of, instead of, in return for, on account of, etc. less than the same Indo-European base as ancient Greek pyro forward, before, in front of, earlier than, Sanskrit pra forth, early Irish ro, prefix forming the perfect tense, Gothic fra, verbal prefix, see discussion at for prefix 1, ultimately showing an ablaut variant of the Indo-European base of for adverb in English use chiefly after pro and contra at pro adverb 1a and related uses of pro adverb. Arguably pro could be considered an abbreviation for prove in this specific idiom as evidenced by earlier usages of the idiom such as letters and papers of J. Shillingford. The Bishoppies court what court he had and shoulda have, hereof was right moche longage and resin prove and contra. From my own knowledge of Latin I'd say the phrase pro et contra might mean for and opposing or for and against, which means that the translation of the roots is almost identical to the modern understanding of the idiom.
The phrase pros and cons is an abbreviation of the Latin phrase pro et contra, for and against, and has been in use in the abbreviated form since the 16th century, according to the Oxford Dictionary Online.
Remembering my first year Latin brings to mind quid pro quo, pro tempore, as in mayor pro tempore for instance, pro bono etc. You get the idea. It seems that in Latin, pro can be a standalone word meaning for, and in the case of words like proconsul, the shortened form of proconsul, meaning, one acting, for the consul, or pronomen, for, in place of, name, the Latin form of pronoun. In either case the general meaning and usage is for or in place of. It's also obviously, a colloquial abbreviation of professional.
From